There's an elephant and donkey both on shaky ground, but we got the truth and we gonna shout it loud. From the healthcare to taxes, they can't hide from us. With a wink and a nod, we expose all the fuss. Educating the masses with a smirk on our face, bringing clarity to the headlines in this crazy race. From the White House to your house, we cover it all, putting humor in the facts, we're having a ball. Oh no, America, let's get real and laugh, teaching you the politics with a little bit of sass. Current events and headlines that blow your mind, only on Oh No America you'll find.
Hello, everybody. Hello, and welcome back to the Garage. I've got Mr. Bill behind me here. Welcome back. Welcome back. Trying something different from the studio here. Thank you very much. And welcome back to Oh No America. It's me, your host, Nora. Oh my goodness, it's MERICA time. So today we're going to talk a little teeny bit. We're not going to do the whole thing because that would literally take weeks. Okay, it would be a nonstop broadcast of weeks of information. So we're going to do this a little by little, a trickle down of information, if you will. And on this pre-Thanksgiving day, I think we should talk about two of the main influences in government. Okay, that is the family and the Federalist Society. Now, why are these two institutions so important, okay, to how are my smush tatas? Yes, guys, I just came from a mammogram that went swimmingly. I don't know. I won't have the results till later, but I'm pretty sure it's fine. The lady was like, we're going to need you to stay after. So I'm pretty sure I'm okay once again for another year until my tatas get smashed again. Yeah, so let's talk about the family and the Federalist Society and what is the influence of the two? What do they have in common? Okay, so the family is an alt-right Christian group, okay, it is super secret, and they used to, up until 2 years ago, run the annual prayer breakfast, okay? And the Federalist Society was started back in the 1980s by a bunch of uber conservatives to try and preserve the Constitution, thus the name, the Federalist Society. No, it doesn't hurt me at all. No pain. No pain, Caroline. No pain for me. Yeah. It doesn't hurt me to get a mammogram ever. Okay, so let's start with the Federalist Society. I'm gonna pull up my screen here so y'all can see it. All right, and here I am underneath it, the Federalist Society. All right, so about us. Our purpose, law schools and the legal profession are currently strongly dominated by a form of orthodox liberal ideology. I don't understand where they got that information from. Which advocates a centralized and uniform society. Actually, it advocates for the opposite. While some members of the academic community have dissented from these views, by and large, they are taught simultaneously with, and indeed as if they were, the law. Right? That stupid, pesky thing known as equal rights for women and people of color and, LGBTQIA plus and all that. Yeah. Yeah. The Federalist Society for Law and Public Studies is a group of conservatives and libertarians, of course they are, interested in the current state of the legal order. It is founded on the principles that the state exists to preserve freedom, that the separation of governmental powers is central to our Constitution, and that it is emphatically the province and duty of the judiciary to say what the law is, not what it should be. The society seeks both to promote an awareness of these principles and to further their application through its activities. This entails rendering priorities within the legal system to place a premium on individual liberty. I want individual liberty, 100%. 100%. Traditional values, there it is. So you can have individual liberty, as long as you have traditional values. Translation, straight, white, cis, hetero shit, and nothing else. Traditional values and the rule of law. They just try to sandwich that in between personal freedom and the rule of law. Also, we want you to not be the gay or anything else. Yeah. Straight white people making a safe space for themselves out of the country. Yeah. It also requires restoring the recognition of the importance of these norms. They must be normalized among lawyers, judges, law students, and professors. In working to achieve these goals, the society has created a conservative and libertarian intellectual network that extends to all levels of the legal community. Yes, it does. Let's dive into that. Here's a great article on Vox. This is from June 3rd, 2019. Okay. This is back during the Trump administration, the end of the first Trump administration. This is what they had to say about the influence of this society. Amanda Hollis-Brusky explains how a student group came to control GOP court nominations. And who's that? That's Georgie Porgy. It's GW Jr. If you follow the Supreme Court at all, you will likely have heard of the Federalist Society. They never talk about their affiliations, but it's very important. Okay. The group, begun as a discussion society for conservatives and libertarian law students, has grown to become the single most important right-leaning legal institution in the country. This was just a bunch of nerdy conservative law guys that were like, we're going to talk about what we think the law means, and we're going to do it behind these closed doors so that none of these women and queers can hear us. Bruh. And now it controls everything. Its founders have gone on to become celebrated law professors, members of Congress, and cabinet officials. It has close ties to five of the 9 justices of the Supreme Court and directly provides short lists of judges to President Trump that he used to make his appointments. Trump didn't come up with those names on his own, y'all. These are the guys who are telling him who to nominate. These are our friends. These are the good ones. You can make a real issue that is the single most influential advocacy organization in Washington right now. It's a story began with a small startup grant from the Olin Foundation. There's another one to dive into. It's just another way America's philanthropic system in which rich donors get lavish tax breaks for donations that can, if used properly, profoundly alter public policy. Okay? Can clash with norms of democracy. As part of our research on the Olin Foundation for the Future Perfect podcast, we talked to Amanda Hollis-Brusky, a political scientist at Pomona College who wrote a book on the Federalist Society. She described the group's origins, its current power, and the role that funding plays into its success. We couldn't include the interview in the podcast itself, but it's a valuable conversation. Here's the podcast. If you go there, you can listen to it. Yeah. So it's edited for length and clarity. What is the Federalist Society? The Federalist Society is a conservative libertarian legal organization. It began in the 1980s with a ragtag group of conservative students who were at the University of Chicago, Yale Law School. Okay. When they got to law school, they sensed a mismatch between the ideas that were becoming politically ascendant. This is the 80s. You have to think yuppies. You have to think Cold War era kids. These students who are entering college in the 80s, okay, they are born in the 60s, went to high school in the 70s, and now they are, in college in the 1980s. Okay. This is the yuppie generation. Okay. They're kind of the older Gen X, but the things that they lived through, Vietnam War, the draft, maybe their, uncles and things getting drafted, totally different situation than what I lived through being a bicentennial baby. Right. So the first thing that happens is they hold a big conference in 1982 on federalism, returning power to the states. Okay. This is an idea that came about, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, guys, through the Federalist Papers and things like that. But they believe in small government, right? They want the states to decide their own individual rights, and the federal government just sort of like, holds its arm around all the states and is like, I love all my children the same, and lets the states do what they want, which doesn't work in society for people like me. Let's say in Oregon here, they uphold gay marriage. Well, in Oregon, my marriage is legal. But let's say my wife and I go on vacation to Florida with our children to go to Disney World. And Florida doesn't recognize gay marriage, right? What then happens? Can we be jailed for being in the same room? Have they outlawed gay people altogether? Like, obviously, we wouldn't go there. But it's just like, why can't I have rights in the whole country that I pay taxes to, right? I pay federal taxes. I pay also state taxes. But why can't I have rights in the country that I pay for? That doesn't make any sense. But somehow it makes sense to these conservatives, right? Because they're libertarian, which means essentially any problem you have with anything around you is your problem. It's not anybody else's problem. You're the cause of it. It's very Scientological. It's, you are the cause of your own shit. Okay. They invite conservative and libertarian academics that are scattered in law school all over the country. Robert Bork comes. Antonin Scalia. Oh, anybody familiar with these names? Who's at that point still a law professor at the University of Chicago. Richard Epstein, who's deeply involved in the law and economics movement. News of this event is publicized, and other students across the country start writing to the founders of the Federalist Society and say, how do we start our own Federalist Society? How do we start our own mini conservative hate group? Prominent donors, funders, politicians take notice. They start investing in the organizations. Okay. This is all a money grab. It's a 501c3 tax hole. Beginning in the 90s, you get the lawyers chapters forming all over the country. And it grows from a small student group at Yale at one school to 40,000 lawyers, judges, politicians, and conservative media pundits. Is this a tightly organized group of activists or a loose discussion society? I'd say it's both, Amanda says. On the other hand, it's very decentralized. The Office of the Federalist Society doesn't tightly control what student chapters do, the kind of programming they put on, because they're libertarians. You're free to do what you want, and we don't care because it's over there, over there. That's the libertarian idea. As long as I take care of my backyard, I don't care what you're doing in your backyard unless it's against what I believe everybody should be doing, and then you don't get to do that. That's why the libertarianism is a failed political party. It doesn't make no sense. But on the other hand, there is a core group of actors that are associated with the Federalist Society. These are the ones who speak and present at National Lawyers Convention, have clerked for conservative Supreme Court justices. Okay? And those actors are deeply involved in what I would consider to be the power aspects of the Federalist Society. Identifying and credentialing conservative legal talent, working behind the scenes with the Republican administration to try and place those individuals into positions of power where they can have a real impact on law and policy. This is the zinger, guys, right? That they want to have this lasting impact forever. It's not good enough for them to just impact those people around them. They want to, like the Constitution, leave a permanent footprint forever because they feel they're the best to decide what's best for everyone. Which kind of goes against what they're saying, like libertarianism is supposed to be you, it's all about you, but we're going to decide what you want, right? Don't forget that. And so, as I show in my book, Ideas with Consequences, that's the name of Amanda's book on the Federalist Society, the group that is actively involved in shaping policy is still a fairly tight-knit group. We're talking about maybe in the hundreds of conservative and libertarian lawyers who are the real movers and shakers on the policy side. So thinking about policy outcomes, and I realize it's hard to suss out the exact causation with things like this. This is Dylan Matthews interviewing her. What are some of the things about American life in the 2010s, okay, because remember, this is from 2019, that are different than they would be absent the Federalist Society? So we're talking almost a decade, we're talking 7 years ago. No, 5 years ago was 2019. Sorry, I couldn't do math there. Okay, so 5 years ago, this is what she sees that would have not happened if the Federalist Society wasn't here. The most visible impact of the Federalist Society has had on America, has had on American life, is through appointments to the Supreme Court. Every administration has a network that they turn to when looking to identify potential judicial candidates. What's happened, though, is that on the right, the Federalist Society has a monopoly on that process. You now have 5 justice majority on the Supreme Court, all of whom are connected to the Federalist Society. Chief Justice John Roberts, Samuel Alito, Clarence Thomas, who's been called a Federalist by Society members, is the closest thing to a pure Federalist Society judge. And of course, Trump's appointment, Neil Gorsuch and Brett Kavanaugh. Now, that's just the 5 that are part of the Federalist Society. Amy Coney, Barrett, she's not. Amy Barrett is not, but she's still conservative because it's a boys' club. So this tiny club that started in Yale has now seated 5 ultra-conservative guys, who are going along the line type of thing. All right. Is there a specific example where the society worked as a gatekeeper? Good question. That example I like to give is George W. Bush's, GW Jr., nomination of Harriet Miers to the Supreme Court vacancy left by Sandra Day O'Connor. Now listen to this story here. Why prior to the rise of the Federalist Society, conservatives didn't really know how to identify what would be a good conservative judge. You have Nixon, who has a number of appointments to the Supreme Court, but they're all over the map, right? He's focusing on things like geography. And many of the justices he ends up nominating experience what conservatives would call the greenhouse effect or judicial drift. And so someone says, what's the greenhouse effects? It's actually after Linda Greenhouse, who was a New York Times reporter who covered the Supreme Court. The conservatives had this theory that they would go out and find good conservative judges, okay? But once those good conservative judges came to Washington, hot dog, they would be bombarded, just bombarded by liberal media and liberal establishment, and they would want to please those people. Okay. And so they would then start drifting to the left. Oh no. Oh no. Right. And writing opinions that they thought would please Linda Greenhouse and please the Georgetown liberal set. This is their theory, that they were trying to please a reporter. Nobody cares what a reporter thinks. Those judges didn't give 2 shits about Linda Greenhouse. This is preposterous, but this is their theory, guys, of why. Maybe it's because when they sat in front of other human beings and they were passing judgment on actual human beings, they were like, oh, this is real life. Like, we have to really make sure that this is going to be fair and just for everybody in the whole country. We better take our time here and better slow our roll. Right? Like, maybe that's what happened. Maybe they weren't just influenced by the liberal media. They got influenced by humanity. Did you ever think about that? Like, geez, Louise, judges are people too. They have families. They have problems. They have gay kids. They have gay grandkids. They've got, all kinds of stuff that starts to sway their opinion. Someone in their family dies of cancer because they didn't have access to medical care. That judge is like, well, shit, everybody should get medical care. That's a normal reaction. Not like, well, sounds like he was too poor to survive. Like, that's not what a normal human being does. But I love that the theory was that they thought this one tiny woman reporter was so powerful that she was swaying Supreme Court judges. That is redonkulous. That is absolutely redonkulous. But back to Harriet Miers. She is nominated because she's a close family friend of the Bush family. So she's like besties with GW, right? And his wife. Okay. She has very little judicial record. She's not known at all to the Federalist Society. She hasn't been at meetings. She's not one of us. And so some of my interviewees said, we need to know you. We need to know that you've been at meetings, gripping and grinning. And we didn't know Harriet. We didn't know her. And that hurt her. And the way that it hurt her, as soon as she was nominated, many of these sort of more vocal Federalist Society types rebelled against it and published op-eds. Okay? They made enough noise that George W. Bush actually withdrew Miers from consideration and nominated who? Samuel Alito, who is one of the Federalist Society's mainstay types, who comes up through the organization, works in the Reagan Justice Department alongside many of the founders, and is very much known commodity to the Federalist Society. Harriet, she was not one of us. She cannot sit on that bench. We do not know her. No, thank you. You have to look forward and think about abortion rights. Harriet Miers is selected to replace Sandra Day O'Connor. O'Connor is, of course, a Reagan nominee, but she's the nominee that didn't overturn Roe versus Wade. Harriet Miers, we don't know anything about her record, but she might have been another O'Connor. Oh, hot dog. A woman respecting a woman's right to choose what she does with her own body? What? We know everything about where Alito stands on the right to choose on abortion. And given the opportunity, every time it's come up, he would vote to overturn Roe versus Wade. He believes it's constitutionally ungrounded. So that's the one area where I think it's been hugely consequential. Okay. So now they're asking about the money. The money enables them to expand. It enables them to hire someone like Leonard Leo, who is the vice president. Ideas can have consequences, but policy is people. So how do you get the people into positions of power? That's been the role that Leo's played in the Federalist Society. Okay, he's playing matchmaker, make me a match. Okay, he's basically the Federalist Society's Yenta. Okay, and you can't just bring in people like Leo on a volunteer basis. Being able to fund a salary to finance the national office, to put on two huge events, the National Lawyers Convention, which is like a ball for the who's who in the conservative legal movement, and the National Student Convention. Okay. They have the Lawyers Convention and the Student Convention. They're getting them early. Okay. Which brings students from all over the country together and connects them with one another, with academics and judges. Okay. This is like the MySpace of the conservative federal people. Okay. Where the funding has made the most difference is in the kinds of events that you see in the law schools. Students and faculty tell me, no matter what side of the political spectrum they come from, they'll always attend a Federalist Society event because they have the best food and the best alcohol. They throw a good party, y'all. So they must be fine. Let them go. I was drunk as hell. Who cares? I have more. He wants to know about the food, particularly with the law students. If you compare it to other organizations that are less well-funded, less resourced, they're going to have an open bar. They're going to have better wine. Their events have more of the trappings of power, right? It's going to be very pushy, very upper crust, very top draw. Don't you know, top draw. Okay. Have you ever had a student come to you and be like, I don't know, I'm trying to decide what I'm going to do with my career, and the Federalist Society has really good food? And she says it's more than they just had better chicken parmesan than the ACLU. It's more about the complete image. I'll give you a few examples. I met with a group of former Federalist Society student chapter presidents, and they were talking about being invited to the National Lawyers Convention. The way in which they talked about meeting people like Ted Olson and Clarence Thomas and Richard Epstein and Alex Kaczynski, they described them as the Mick Jaggers of the Federalist Society. The law students get the opportunity to interact with these luminaries. The second story was before Ted Olson defected and started supporting gay marriage. He was also a lawyer who argued Bush v. Gore and Citizens United. So he was very much a stalwart of the Federalist Society network. He had a barbecue every year, and these students would talk to me about being invited to Ted Olson's barbecue and how it was like the coolest thing that they could possibly imagine. Clarence Thomas is walking around in a Hawaiian button-down shirt, smiling and chatting up everyone. Just Clarence, you know. These are the kinds of things that I think the Federalist Society has been effective at using its funding to give young students this window into the world of conservative power. Have you been to these events? Uh-oh. When I was doing research for the book in 2008, I went to a variety of student events, but also lawyers' events. I went to a book signing with Scalia, which was fascinating. I was in this room at the Hyatt, Washington, D.C. Scalia had written a book about legal reasoning and argument. He's giving the spiel, and I look around and I'm surrounded by 20-something white males in their best suits with their ties, and they're hanging on every word he says. And then there's Q&A. Someone asked Scalia what his favorite opinion was, and he said, I don't know that I don't know what my favorite opinion, but I'll tell you my favorite dissent. And he describes his lone dissent, in this case, Morrison v. Olson, which is a kind of nuts and bolts case. It's one of the sexy civil liberty cases. It's about separation of powers. He begins to recite his dissent. And all of a sudden, the entire room, the volume wells up, and these young men are word for word repeating, along with Scalia, his dissent in Morrison v. Olson, arguing that independent counsels are unconstitutional. If it felt to me like I ever needed some sort of visual or, evidence of the influence that the Federalist Society and Scalia had on these young, impressionable conservatives, here it is. Guys, the fact that these young students are so engrossed with the conservative judges' dissensions over their opinions and can recite it as if they are reciting a Shakespeare sonnet should tell you the reverence that they give these, legal luminaries. This is what's scary. This is the people who are going to send Trump more nominations when he tries to seat more people on the court, if any of those conservative judges decide to retire. Okay? This is bad news, bears. This is where our tax dollars go. Okay? Because it's a gigantic circle jerk, this situation. The uber rich are up here at the top giving to the Federalist Society. The Federalist Society is brainwashing young law students into only looking at the Constitution and our rights through a singular, very teeny tiny lens. Okay? Then those people are rewarded for their membership in this ultra, secret club, and then placed in various positions throughout the country where they get to decide who gets to do what, when, where, and why. That was never the intent of the Constitution by our founders, to have one singular group have power over the whole. That is not a democracy. Democracy is supposed to mean that you and I get to go to that voting booth and our voices get heard. And when a minority of people want rights, we get to have them. We've seen the Constitution evolve over time. Slavery was abolished. Women now have voting rights and rights to, have their own bank account and can get divorced. Okay. So the Constitution can evolve and change, but these guys want to stop the evolution, the expansion, the coming to now part of the Constitution. They want to firmly remain 248 years in the past and undo a lot of the rights that have come about in the last 70 years because it doesn't suit their narrative. It doesn't suit their myopic version of the American society. And now we are in the Trump era, y'all. These guys are celebrating. Whatever they say is going to go. Because once again, Trump has a royal flush. He has the House. He has the Senate. He's sitting there in the president's office, and he has the Supreme Court. He will appoint more and more supremely conservative judges that will be handpicked and delivered to him by members of the Federalist Society. That, of course, Anthony Scalia will, of course, give it a look-see first and then be like, yes, thumbs up to these blokes. This is the worst case scenario. This is the absolute worst case scenario. I just had a talk with my kids today, about the fact that we are in the worst case scenario and that they are going to suffer the consequences of everything that is happening. I have 3 kids who can't vote. They're not of voting age. My oldest voted and then he was depressed for 2 weeks because, he can't believe the outcome of the vote. And I said, guys, you got to look at the electoral map. Let's be realistic, America. Let's start focusing on the real. Okay. The real deal is this country is not a liberal paradise. This country is not liberal. This country was founded solely, on genocide and slavery. Okay. And keeping any person who wasn't a white, cis, a heterosexual man out of power. That is facts. And the sooner we come to terms with the fact that that is what our country is founded on, and a lot of people would like to go back to a lot of that stuff, including slavery. Okay? They want women to be property again. They're trying to enact, a misrepresentation of the Bible, their version of the Bible, where women cannot talk, speak, or, do anything except for pop babies out of their uterus. Right? And yes, it's very much like The Handmaid's Tale, y'all. Very much like The Handmaid's Tale. Okay? But this is literally, guys, the absolute worst case scenario. But also, it's a worst case scenario for people who aren't conservative white Christians. Let's be very clear. And if you go back and look at the map, go examine the map that shows all of the counties of America in which way they voted. I encourage everyone to please go look at that map. Let me see if I can pull it up here. So that's not what I want. That's what I want. I'm sorry, not the inaugural map. The electoral college map, but even that one isn't really accurate. It doesn't really give you the whole picture. Oh, CNN, you're such a poop. Let me see here. Okay, Fox News has one. Okay. So let's look at this here. Let's take a look here. Okay. So here we are. This is this year's map. Okay. So the number of blue states, okay, is not a lot, right? And we're like, oh, there's not, this is where all the people are over here in California. They're all over here and they're all over here in New York. And there's a bunch over here in Seattle and there's a bunch in Portland. Okay. And somehow, Chicago's got a lot of people, and, Colorado and okay, somehow New Mexico flipped. I don't know how the fuck that happened, and we got Virginia because that's where all the people who actually work in Washington live. Right. So we got like this little, it's like the original 13 colonies were like, okay, we're going to keep democracy. And everybody else was like, nah, fuck it. Okay. So let's look at 2020. Okay. So this is 2020's map. No, it's not. Why is it not changing? Refresh. I want to see 2020's votes. Well, that's not. Yeah. And Republicans flipped Alaska. Alaska used to be blue, guys. But the change from 2020, right? So, well, Washington's still blue. What is. This is not a good map. But at any rate, it doesn't matter. What matters is to look at this map. Okay. And North Carolina is one of the 13, and they flipped. That is true. North Carolina is one. It used to just be Carolina, but yeah. Yeah. But this is an accurate map, an accurate description of our country, guys. Okay. This is an accurate description. Does it show that on here? No, it doesn't. It doesn't show that Georgia went blue for like a hot second. Okay. All this red, and let me say this, I live in Oregon. Okay. Oregon is not a blue state. That is not an accurate depiction of living here. Guess what, guys? California is not a blue state. Okay. Everyone's like, oh, California is the most liberal state in the whole world. It's not. It's not. The coastal parts of California, minus San Diego and everything north of, San Francisco. Okay. That's it. That is the liberal area. And there are hundreds of thousands, millions of people that live in the rest of California. Their numbers just seem to be a little bit smaller than, the people on the coast. And I was surprised that California stayed blue, frankly, with like so many people fleeing to Texas. Okay, all these conservatives that were like, I can't live in California anymore. It's too liberal. Guys, it's not that liberal. It's not that liberal to want people to have clean air, to want, women to have rights to their own bodies, to want people to have, good food in schools for children, to have schools for children, to, want people to have equal rights and get equal pay. I don't think that that's such a wild idea. But, I'm apparently on the wrong side of history on that. But Oregon is not a blue state. Washington is not a blue state. Both our state, Washington and Oregon and California, all three of those states have one thing in common. The eastern half of the state, which is the least populous, but the largest swath of the states, all super conservative. Okay. So much so that the northern half of California, okay, starting in Redding, going all the way up to the top of the state, wants to partner with Eastern and Southern Oregon and Idaho to form their own fucking state. They were trying to secede that little swath of Northern California into the state of Jefferson. There ain't nothing up there, y'all. There ain't no infrastructure. It's awful. It's just dirt. They want their own dirt. They want to do with the dirt that they want. Okay. Yeah. These ideas that we have blue states and red states, we do not. We have an uber conservative country that has been overwrought by the right wing, extreme right wing evangelical movement, the Federalist Society, the family, all of these things trying, and they've played the long game, y'all. And they let the media and everybody else lie to us and think that we have these things, that we have all these rights, that we have these ideas. They have been waiting for 2024 patiently to get this royal flush. Okay. For many years. Yeah. The only reason, this is so teeny tiny. Let me expand here. Rocks in a box. The only reason that turned out that way, okay, is because a lot of Republicans left California and they went to Texas, they went to Arizona, where Trump won overwhelmingly. They went to Nevada, right? And those 3 states, huge wins for Trump, huge. Where did they get all those people to vote? California, okay? If they had stayed in California, California would have flipped red. I want you guys to think about that. Yeah, you were teeny tiny. That was funny. I want you guys to really think about that. Because that is facts. Without those people mass exiting from California, California would have flipped red. We barely hung on to a Democratic governor here in Oregon. We waited a week. I think maybe even 2 weeks, but we waited a hell of a long time while votes were still being tallied because it was that close here. And yes, she's vowed to keep gay marriage legal here in Oregon while she's still in office. But I'm telling you right now, she's not getting voted back in. I mean, I'm good. If she runs again, I'm voting for her. I think she's doing a good job, right? But she's not going to win again. This state will flip totally red by the end of 2028, 100%. By 2026, let's put it that way, because that's when she's running again. Yes, we are live, West Coast Fancy Nancy. We've been live, girl. Thank you for coming. So I really want, everyone to understand that we live in a conservative country. We have marched backwards to a fully patriarchal, conservative, white Christian nation. That is where we're at right now, guys. Make no mistake about it. Okay. This is the time where, you have to really start looking 20 steps ahead in the chess play here. It's one thing to make fun of Trump and make fun of his picks and like all these people and whatever. Okay. But, oh God, Huntington Beach, Jesus, anaphylaxis. That is terrible town. That is so conservative and wild. Like, it's like Proud Boy Central. I'm sorry that you live there. Yeah. You got to start thinking about your own safety and everything else. I would advise, now, before January 20th, if you don't have a passport, get your passport. If you need to renew it, renew that passport. If you're like me and you're in a gay marriage, legalize that shit in other ways. Make sure that you are safe, that your possessions are safe, that your house is safe, that all of that stuff cannot just be stripped from you in any way possible. You have to think of every single possible move that could happen. If you can move. There's always going to be tiny, bright blue lights here in this very, very dark time. Those will always exist. There'll be cities here and there that will be safe for everyone to be in, right? There's still good people out there. However, there are some people who consider themselves to be good people who voted for Trump because they want immigration fixed. They want the tariffs because they think it's a good thing. They don't know how to do math and they don't understand what a tariff is. Okay. They just followed the propaganda. I want China to pay. Like, China's not going to pay. That's not how a tariff works. The business importing the thing from the other place pays the tariff, and then they pass that new cost onto you, the consumer. So all the cars, all the fucking electronics, all the televisions, refrigerators, washing machines. If you see that shit on sale right now, go buy it. Because you think it's expensive now to buy one of those newfangled washer dryers that you just, push the button, boop, boop, and it just tells you everything about your clothes and shit. That shit's going to triple. It's not, no, Real ID is not the same as a passport. Real ID is not the same as a passport. Don't get it twisted. You still need a passport to leave this country, even to go to Canada or Mexico, y'all. Real ID is the government's way of tracking us. It has nothing to do with the passport. So you have to have both starting next year. 2025, y'all. Project 2025. We're going to dive into that. Okay, you sent me that? Let me pull up my email here. Did you email it or text it? Did you text it, Stacy? Yes, you texted it. Okay, thank you. Let me get this up here 1 second. And then, no. I was like, I got a text. Who sent me that? I was like, I'm sending it to myself. What an idiot. Hang on. Okay. This is what happens when you have different Apple IDs for different things, guys. All right, here we go. Let's pull this up here. All right. Thank you. This is a beautiful map. This is exactly what I wanted to see here. And let me pull up this other one too. There we go. There we go. Perfection. Okay. So let's go over these things here, because this is the map that I was hoping to get. Thank you very much, Stacy. Okay. There we go. So now let's look at this map, and then you can more accurately see how actually red our country is. Let me do this. I tried to do the little screen here because I thought it was going to help with viewership. I don't know. I don't think it's, yeah. I'm gonna switch us back here 1 second if I can. This is gonna be messy for a second here. Oh, I can't switch it midstream. Just kidding. Okay. So if you look at this map, you guys, you see where the little blue blips are. Okay. You have Western Nevada as an example. Western Nevada was blue. And the tiny bit part down here, oh, what's that? That's Vegas. Everywhere else, they voted for Trump. Here's Oregon. Let's get a closer look at Oregon, just so you guys can see. Here's the state that I live in. This is like almost all Trump. This is the Portland metro area right here, and it wasn't even dark blue, y'all. It's not even all dark blue for the Portland metro area. And then you have, what's this here? Oh, this is college area. The college areas. Everywhere else, y'all, is Trump. Look how big these counties are. It's like enormous because there's like, 10,000 people that live in this whole space. That is not a blue state. That is not a blue state. This is a red state. Okay? Just like California, guys, you can see exactly what I was talking about. Okay? They voted dark red here. Red. And then you have, look how the blue is fading away in these other areas. It's barely blue. Okay? Alaska, even though you have these blue areas on the outside, these guys outnumbered these guys. And Trump won Alaska. Hawaii's all blue. There ain't even no red there. Look at, where's the blue in Texas? Okay, you got Austin, a tiny bit of Houston, and the Gulf. Right there on the Gulf. The people actually on the border voted blue. Except for that one little patch right there that was like, fuck you. Okay, look here. New Mexico. Oh, no, this is Nevada. Arizona, New Mexico. That's Colorado. Utah. That's Utah, New Mexico. Shit. Arizona, New Mexico, Colorado. Okay. Fuck, I got to remember my states. Okay. So Nevada is basically a red state. You can see that. It's just a little bit of blue. Same thing with Utah. Here's just one blue spot and one blue spot. Okay. Here's Colorado. Now, even though you got all this red out here, guys, look, it's dark, dark red. And then you have one bright blue spot in Denver. Okay. And another one to the north. Surprisingly, you have some light blue down here in the south. That's also a lot of military peeps. That's where the Air Force is and shit. That's where our nuclear arsenal is. Those people tend to be like, let's not blow everything up. Okay. New Mexico. New Mexico, even though there's this blue in Albuquerque and shit, all this red outnumbered that. Look at the light red all around it. Look at the light blue. The blue is going away. Okay. Same thing here in Arizona. I'm surprised to see any blue in Arizona. I'll be honest with you. Look at the rest of the states, though, guys. There's just tiny little blue bits. Tiny little blue bits. Look at this little blue belt that goes through the East Coast and into the South. These are the major cities. Atlanta, right? New Orleans, the West Coast of Louisiana, all blue. Oklahoma ain't got no blue. Missouri's got one patch of blue right there in St. Louis. Okay. Well, they got two. Right? That's the problem, guys. We need to really look at this and understand we do not live in a liberal country. This map, the voting is not reflective of people who follow a liberal ideology. The majority has spoken. Now, what's unfortunate about that is that they don't like the rest of us, right? They don't like the rest of us. But yes, it is partially that, but it's partially not that though, right? Okay. The blue is where the concentration of some people is. All the red areas are not just land, guys. That's the same thing that they want to do with our votes. The people who live in those solid red areas that are, tens of thousands versus millions, their vote counts too. Okay. Everybody's vote counts. Now, is it more land than it is people in some of those areas? Yes, but not all of those areas. Do you know why I know that that's true? Because I worked for T-Mobile, y'all. And I used to have to do work on our network. Okay. And so I can tell you where people live in this country more accurately than probably most people, because I had to know where our towers were. And where do people put cell phone towers? Where there are people. So a lot of those places, you want to know what the most sparsely populated states we have are? North Dakota, South Dakota, Montana. A lot of that is just land. Okay. There are large swaths of Utah that don't have a lot of people. Okay. Iowa has a lot of people. It's got a lot of people. There's a lot of farms, but there's a lot of people. Right? Okay. Oklahoma, lots of people. Right? Arkansas, lots of people. Okay. These other states aren't just land. Texas has a tremendous amount of land that is just land. It's, our second largest state, y'all. Right? Alaska, same thing. Alaska's a lot of land. Okay. And the people population centers where there's the most people somehow didn't have enough people to vote. And they didn't vote enough blue for Alaska to stay blue. So that it doesn't always, this is another thing where we just go like, oh, this is why we can't do this. And blah, blah, blah. Here's the deal. I think we should do away with the Electoral College. I think one person, one vote. It should be a popular vote, just like in high school. And that's it. Okay. But Trump also won the popular vote, y'all, by a lot. By a lot. Okay. So even if we're going to argue and bitch about the Electoral College and land voting and all these things that aren't real, Trump won the popular vote by a lot. Okay. By a lot. Right. Let's just look at that for a second here. Okay, let's look at the popular vote count for 2024. So let's go to this graphic here. It's going to be teeny tiny. I know you guys can't hardly see it, but this is showing the Electoral College votes. However, Trump got 76,883,545 votes. 50% of the vote. Kamala lost by 2 million votes, y'all. By more than 2 million. She got 74,406,552 votes. She lost. Okay. She lost the popular vote by 2.5 million votes. That is not close. That is not like, oof, should we do a recount? Like, no, she fucking summarily lost. Okay. So even if we consider that this reflection of red is not a real reflection of the popular, of what people want, actually it is. He won by 2.5 million votes. 2.5 more million Americans wanted that man as president of the United States than wanted to see an African-American, a Southeast Asian woman be president of the United States. That's how the cookie crumbled, y'all. That's how the cookie crumbled. That's absolutely what happened. There's no debate about it. Okay. My advice to Kamala, honey, go do something else. Go become a professor. Don't you dare run again in 2028. Like, I love you. I voted for you. I bought swag and shit. No. Don't fucking, please don't. If we're gonna put up a Democrat the next time around that Trump's gonna try and run for his third term, don't think he's not going to, guys, because he's gonna. Okay. We better have a fucking strong ass candidate that can take him out, that people will vote for. Put Katie Porter up there. We want a woman. You gotta get Katie Porter in there. We need a younger woman who's gonna mom the shit out of this shit and not take any shit from that man. Yeah, Aubrey, I know. Listen, I don't blame black people for this. I don't blame black Americans for this. Okay. Aubrey says that's why black folk are tired and stepping back. Listen, y'all done did it. You guys supported fucking everybody you could possibly support. You know who I blame for all this shit? I'm going to tell you the person I blame. Jim Clyburn. Okay. I blame that man for this whole mess that we're in. You know why? Okay. Let's rewind the clock back to, 2016. Okay. To 2020 rather. Okay. We didn't get Hillary in 2016. That was a whole thing. The Bernie people are still pissed. I get it. Whatever. Move on. Okay. That election was kind of stolen. It really wasn't like the real results. It's a whole thing. Election fraud, whatever. It didn't happen. Fetch didn't happen for us. So then we have a robust Democratic bunch of candidates. We had a fuck ton of people running. And there were good people in there. Okay, we had Pete Buttigieg. We had Kamala running. We had my favorite, my Lizzie. And we had Joe Biden. Joe Biden, who was like, nobody was showing up at a Joe Biden rally. Not one person. Like, he was lucky, honestly, guys, if he got 1,000 people to show up at his rally. Okay, in 2019. It was sad. People, like pundits on both sides, were like, this is sad. Like, nobody wants Joe. This is awful. Right? He was tanking. He was about to step out of the race. Kamala, she let her sister run her campaign, and it was a fucking joke. The graphics were awful. Her site was a mess. She had good momentum and good energy, but like, her sister ran her campaign into the ground. Never, ever, ever have your family run your campaign for you guys. Like, you need to hire professionals. Thank God she didn't let her sister anywhere near this campaign the second time around. That's why her campaign was so much better. Okay. But Kamala tanked in this. She exited early. So then we go to the debate. Okay. Kamala was at the debate. Buttigieg was at the debate. Everybody was doing the same thing. What were they all doing? Punching Joe. Punch, 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 punch. Joe looked like shit. He was fumbling. He couldn't remember what he was supposed to say. They were bringing up his whole record for his whole life. He looked awful. Then what happened? Jim Clyburn, during an unauthorized, during a break, took Joe Biden aside and was like, listen, man, I'm going to give you the black vote, but you have got to start looking good in this debate. He probably gave him some soup. And Joe went back out there the second half of the debate much better than the first. But Elizabeth Warren was still the clear winner of that debate. She fucking handed him his ass on a platter. She was organically getting 50,000 people randomly showing up to events all across the country. If Clyburn had taken the power that he has, apparently he thinks, to control the entire black vote of the nation and said, Lizzie Warren's our girl, everybody, she would have won. She would have been the candidate and she would have beaten Trump. There's not a world in which Elizabeth Warren wouldn't have beaten Donald Trump in 2020. Then, because she still has her wits about her and she's still fucking on fire, y'all, she would have run against him again. And she would have won. There ain't no way. Okay? There ain't no way Trump would have won that. Also, because people wouldn't have been as upset in the country because she would have done things for all the people because she's not a person of Wall Street. They fucking hate her ass. She holds the rich to task. They do not like her. She would have won, though. And guess what? We'd have free education. We'd have free healthcare. And everybody would be happy. Because the rich people would be paying the motherfucking taxes and not the middle and the poors who can't afford it. Who can't afford it. But the conservatives have gotten their way, y'all. They have worked their way into the system via every available airwave. They have created numerous new conservative stations for Nana and Pop Pop to watch all day. Okay, they don't just have Fox News now. They got Fox Business News. They got, what's the other one? It's another Fox News. They got Fox Sports, which is also fucking totally conservative. They've got One America Network. They've got News Nation. Every time you turn around, there's another conservative media outlet being born. They dominate Spotify with their bro-douche podcasters. Right? They dominate every piece of airwaves that they can. And meanwhile, the Democrats are like, guys, that's not the rules. We can't do that, guys. That's not the rules. That's not what you're supposed to. Fuck the rules. Conservatives haven't been playing by the rules for over 100 years. This is why progressives can't get anything done, because progressives want perfection, which will never happen, and they want to play by the rules. They want the rules to matter. The rules only matter to conservatives when they are suppressing and squashing and holding someone else down. Then the rules must be followed to the T. Otherwise, they don't fucking matter. They're not for them. They're rich. Okay. But let's be real, guys. Let's be real when we are thinking about our country. Okay. Our country is not a utopian liberal paradise. Okay. That does not exist. And because the frog in the pot has happened and disinformation has taken over social media, the actual media, the newspapers, every airwave available to mankind, they are winning. They are winning. They have won. Okay. Let me get to the questions and comments here, y'all, because it's the day before Thanksgiving. I have a pie to make. Well, technically it's a cake. I'm making cheesecake, but it's kind of a pie. Cheesecake's kind of a pie, I think. It's not really a cake because it's got a crust. So technically it's a pie. So it should be called cheese pie, but then nobody would want it. So it's called cheesecake. Yeah. I'm making a cheesecake, and I'm also going to dinner with my wife. Or going out for, with some friends before Thanksgiving. So yeah, that's what's going to happen. That's what's going to happen. But let's check out your comments and questions here. Let me check it out. Okay. Yeah, the Supreme Court, I'm just going to read them because they're covering my face. Anyway, this Gunnar Fawcett says the Supreme Court has gotten away with far too much over the last few years. Here's the deal, guys. When the court is leaning one way entirely, the seesaw is, like this. There's no chance of the seesaw coming to a balance, right? Or just, maybe every once in a while it's doing this. No, it's just stuck. It's just stuck down. That's what's happening. Yeah, they do want to go back to the 1700s, Kelly. Absolutely. Selma's here. I'm so sorry for your country, my friends. I wish you could all move in with me. Selma, don't say things like that. People are going to show up at your doorstep, honey. Aubrey Fletcher in the house. Conservatism is nothing more than tokenism while trying to end rights for Black people, LGBTQ+, and other non-white, non-cis folk. Amen. Amen, Aubrey. Yeah, preach it. I keep clicking. I'm sorry. I really think there might be American refugees coming to other countries. You bet your bottom dollar there will be. Get ready, Iceland. Get ready, Sweden, Norway, Denmark, Finland, Germany, Costa Rica. Where else is it? England, Ireland. Get ready. Strap in, the rest of the world, because we coming. We coming. If there was a country, in Africa that I thought wouldn't want to murder me because I'm gay, I would go there. But yeah, pretty much all those countries, I think I'd have to check. There's a lot of countries. There's like 100 plus countries on the continent of Africa. Australia, get ready. New Zealand, get ready. We coming. Aubrey says, Rhode Island is not a blue state. The town of West Warwick, the youngest town in Rhode Island, went red in 2016 and in 2024. Yeah. That's because, guys, the young people, where's that piece of hair? There it is. Driving me nuts. There we go. The young people exist where? Where do the young people exist? For those of us who have kids, we know exactly where they exist. On the internet. And what is the internet just chock-a-block full of? Misinformation. Are our kids willing to fact check stuff and look at it? Or do they just retweet it, re-TikTok it? They do all these things and they start believing these things. They are very easily influenced. Okay. These guys know what they're doing. They are dominating the airwaves with their ridiculous message, and the kids are soaking it up like little sponges. Generation Z is conservative, y'all. People think, oh, Gen Z, they're all into all this stuff and they want this and that. There's a little ghost that just went by me here. That was weird. Hello, spirit. Yeah. No, they don't. No, they don't. No. No, absolutely not. East of Rhode Island and the islands voted for Kamala while the rural towns went red. Yeah. Yep. Selma says, I follow Mary Trump and also Midas Touch. Very good info. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's hopeful info. Mary Trump is really good at breaking, Donald down since they're family. Yeah. She gets the Trump mentality more than anybody else, because she grew up there. She grew up Trump. West Coast Fancy Nancy. Okay. You overreacted. That's okay, honey. I love you. That's why yes. Technically he's one of my relatives. Who's one of your relatives? Trump? Trump is one of your relatives? Who are we talking about, Aubrey? You got to tell me now. Free Translate says, I'm not a fan of a woman being president. What now? But I knew Harris would be a better choice than Trump. She's far more educated and less interested in fame. Why aren't you a fan of a woman being president? This is a whole fucking show right here. Like, what has gotten in to everyone's brain that we cannot picture a woman running the country? Women run households every single day. They make sure that 5 kids are at 20 different activities while maintaining the books, while making sure that people are fed, while making sure that people are getting educated, while making sure her husband's happy, while making sure all this shit. That's the most capable person, not the person with their feet up on the desk, smoking a cigar, just being like, hey, can you bring me another beer? Thanks. But I don't want that fucking person anymore. I want the person who knows how to get all this shit done and juggle all this stuff. Why are we so conditioned in this country to hate women? What happened, America? Who touched you in the no-no spot? For fuck's sake, we gotta get over it. Every other democracy that we have birthed from our own democracy has elected one or more women as the president of their countries. And guess what those women did? A good fucking job. What is wrong, America? Holy shit. I agree with you, Aubrey. Elizabeth Warren would have absolutely won everybody's vote. Yeah. You blame white folks who play these pet project games too? Yeah, 100%. Fuck the white people who are just like, well, it's really about the immigration for me more than anything else. Yeah. It's just so bad right now. All these just scary, scary people here that are not, from here. You know what I mean? Like, listen up, Susan. Go fuck yourself. Okay? Jesus Christ. You love cheesecake. Aubrey, if we're ever in the same place, I want to make you a cheesecake, my friend. I'll make you one. I love making cheesecake. It's a family recipe. I make my own crust. Okay? I make my own crust out of a combination of Walker's shortbread, the biscuits, and Nilla wafers and butter. Yeah. And then we have our secret ingredient in the cheesecake that I only tell people who have it personally, but it's very good. You're cooking. You're going to see Wicked tomorrow. Oh, now what? We want to see that too. I heard it's really, really good. And going to your son's house on Saturday, taking store-bought pies. Girl, get those. Go get the Costco pumpkin pie. That shit's good. Been watching you for a long time, and my 18-year-old daughter adores you. Well, thank you, Kim. Hello to your daughter. Could you do me a favor and just say hi to, hello, Amy. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being one of the young people that brings me hope every single day. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate you. She's one of, like when I look at my demographics, I have like this much teens. Like the 18 to 25 demographic is like this. So I would love to. Yeah, Jim Clyburn. I don't like that man. I'm mad at him. I'm still mad. I'm going to stay mad at him until I die. I'm pretty sure. I would tell him that to his face. You fucked us. You fucked us and gave us Joe Biden, which gave us the Trump number 2. Shame on you, Jim. Shame on you. And also, he didn't endorse Kamala until hella late. He was like, should we endorse? I don't know. Like, bitch, you do your job. You're getting ready to leave for Laura FM show. All right, Cher, go see that. I hope you have a great time. And I did get your present. I don't have, it's, where did it go? It's still upstairs. I got your present today. Thank you for sending that to me. It's amazing. I'm going to put it on the shelf here. Everyone will see it. Your wife is in charge of the household? Connecticut had 2 female governors, Jody Rell and Ella Grasso. Rhode Island had Gina Raimundo. I'm totally comfortable. Yeah. It's like, give me a break, y'all. Preach, Nora. Thank you. Iceland changed their complete system and mostly women doing it. Yeah. Yeah, women of Iceland walked out unilaterally one day. We're just like, we want equal wages. Good luck getting everything done without us doing nothing for you. We're going to stay on strike. They fucking went on strike. And guess what? They got equal wages. When the housing crisis and the fucking economy crashed in 2008, guess what Iceland did? They jailed the bankers. And they fixed their economy from the ground up. Instead of bailing them out, they bailed the people out. Sounds logical. Also, apparently, Iceland is very open to immigrants right now because they're getting to the point of being like the smallest town on planet Earth. And their dating app lets you know if you're going to possibly swipe right on your cousin. So, hey, you want to help Iceland out? You got to learn how to pronounce Reykjavik properly and all that other stuff. It is a tough language, guys. I'm not going to lie to you. That Norse, ancient Norse language, that's a tough one, but you can learn it. Yeah. On the left, it was Gaza, and black folks were warning folks. Yeah. Walkers are amazing. Walker's shortbread biscuits. If y'all don't get those and put them in your mouth hole, that's so good. You meant to send a message to Dr. Stephen Hassan. This is from Nicole. He needs to do a collaboration with you. Let me see something here. Please hold. Let me see something here. I have Steve's number. I'm going to text him right now. I hope you have a fantastic Thanksgiving. There we go. Sent. All right. You're 4% Icelandic. Get in on it. Get in on it, Aubrey. Let's check your questions here, guys. And then I got to get changed for dinner. Got to look like an adult. Why do you use the word cis when talking about straight white people? Because people who are borned in their bodies and they accept the sex that they are cis. It's not a dirty word. Being cisgendered is not dirty. I'm a cisgendered female. I'm not, contrary to popular belief out there, guys. Breaking news, Nora's not trans. No, I am a cisgendered female woman. I don't take that as an insult. Right? There's cisgendered and transgender. There are two different things. Cis means that your spirit, the way you see yourself aligns with the sex you were assigned at birth, right? The one the doctor takes a peek. There you are. Okay. And transgender means you are transitioning from your borned gender to another gender. That's it. So they want to make sure that there are no trans people. So when I say that about cis, white, hetero males, I mean that specifically. They are deadly afraid of anyone who is not that and who's not a cisgendered female for them to, think about sexually. Because if they get attracted to somebody like Laverne Cox, well, it's Laverne Cox's evil, not their predilections. Like Laverne Cox is fucking gorgeous. I'm never going to be that pretty. Are you joking me? She's got way better legs than I do. And better boobs. She's perfect. How does a woman growing up in a cult become so well-informed with politics? Guys, I've always been a politics nerd. I was a junior class president of my high school. I went to regular high school. I was in a debate club. I've always been a C-SPAN nerd. I grew up in the 80s under Ronald Reagan, and I wanted to know what the fuck my parents were talking about. So I dove into politics. It's one of my huge passions. As a young child, I wanted to be the first female president of the United States. That was a goal of mine. That's never going to happen. I mean, I'm old enough. I could definitely run. I don't think there would be enough people for me to even make the debate stage to support me. But I would, that was my goal. I wanted to go to law school, become a lawyer, run for Congress, and do the whole thing. Even maybe join the military, and do all the stuff to get myself to the point of, being president of the United States. But I didn't. I signed the billionaire contract with Mike Holt instead. So yeah, I've always had my eye on politics, guys. There was a window of time while I was on the RPF that I didn't know what the fuck was going on between 2000 and 2002. No clue. None. Because I didn't have access to any television or newspaper or anything. At least when I was in the Sea Org, I could like sneak a newspaper every once in a while, sneak a Time magazine and read it, or a Rolling Stone and find out what was happening. But yeah, no, you have access to it's being completely cut off from the world. I had no idea the aftermath of what was going on, what was happening during 9/11. Nothing. You're told nothing. No, Real ID is not a passport. Please do. Your dentist is ill-informed. Do not. You need the Real ID. It's going to be legal. And the states that are requiring that, like Oregon's requiring it by 2025. So by like May of 2025, I believe. So check with your state. It is a requirement. You have to go into the DMV, y'all, with like every piece of identifying fucking shit that you can. Your birth certificate, your fucking Social Security actual card, several bills that show that you actually are you and you pay fucking shit at the place that you say you live at, or you can't get no Real ID. Okay. Do I think gay marriage will be eliminated under Trump? Yes, I do, Vernon. I think it will become federally against the law. The Supreme Court has already said that's on their docket, to look at, Vernon. Yeah, they absolutely intend on shrinking the rights of minorities in this country as much as humanly possible and as much as inhumanly they can. Have you heard that MAGA wants to enact a convention of states and change the Constitution? Yes, Kim. Yeah, they do want to change the Constitution permanently. I mean, guys, the Declaration of Independence, okay, we haven't actually gone over the Declaration of Independence here on this channel yet, and we need to, okay, right? So the Declaration of Independence, we'll go over this in a whole, episode one time, because we need to really dive in to this. It's one of the most important documents besides the preamble to the Constitution of the United States, which, just for everyone's remembering, is this: we, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America. Okay, so the Declaration of Independence is a very, very important document. And everything that they say in there matters now probably more than it did on July 4th, 1776, when all of those people signed it. Here's an actual picture of it. I'm a descendant of a signer of the Declaration of Independence. I take this contract that these people made with themselves and with all of us very seriously. And actually, we'll do that for the next episode. We'll talk about the Declaration of Independence and what that means, and that conservatives are taking them up on an offer in there, because Democrats wanted to play by the rules. We fucked ourselves at the drive-thru, guys. Is the cheesecake thing the American version of the Brit Jaffa cake argument? I don't know. I don't know what a Jaffa cake is. I don't know who Bob Seska is. So the answer is no, Aubrey. Will Hawaii be immune to most of Trump's decisions because it's not part of the continental U.S.? No, the decisions that he makes affects the entire United States. Now, they could be like, hey, go fuck yourself, except what does Hawaii have? The largest population of military people out of all the states, practically. Okay, so they are going to do whatever fuck Trump sells them, whether they like it or not. I know. All right. Would I consider running for local office? Babe, should I run for local office? My wife says no. I don't think she could take me as a politician, y'all. I don't know. She would look really, really good as a first lady somewhere, though, because she is very beautiful and I love her very much. Was I on the left when I was in Scientology? Yes. Except for I was extremely homophobic to myself. All right, guys, that wraps it up for me. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Don't forget, I'm having a sale on all the stores right now. ohnomerica is having a sale, 15% off everything for Black Friday. That's going to go through Monday. Please go visit ohnomerica.com. Get one of your relatives something fun for the holidays, and happy Thanksgiving to all of you. I will see you guys next time.
There's an elephant and donkey both on shaky ground, but we got the truth and we gonna shout it loud. From the healthcare to taxes, they can't hide from us. With a wink and a nod, we expose all the fuss. Educating the masses with a smirk on our face, bringing clarity to the headlines in this crazy race. From the White House to your house, we cover it all, putting humor in the facts, we're having a ball. Oh no, America, let's get real and laugh, teaching you the politics with a little bit of sass. Current events and headlines that blow your mind, only on Oh No America you'll find.